How can I invest in tax liens? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ted Thomas, and you're going to get a lot of surprises in this particular video. Imagine investing money with little or no risk. Well, that's what you do when you get involved in tax liens. They're not only low risk, but you can make some pretty big money. Now, how do you do that? Well, you do that by investing in your local county. I'm going to give you a lot of foundational material so that you understand how to do that. But tax lien certificates generate money, and I'm talking about high interest rates. Local banks, low interest rates, 1% is kind of average today across the United States. But tax lien certificates, you could earn 16, 18, 24. You could earn up to 36% interest on a tax lien certificate. Now, why on earth are they selling these tax lien certificates? Well, first of all, there's about 3,000 counties in the United States, a little over that, and about half sell tax lien certificates. The other half will sell tax deeds. Now, I'll tell you about tax deeds on another video. So we're just talking about tax liens, which turn into tax lien certificates. Now, the local county needs to collect money from all of the property owners. Now, the property owners owe a property tax, and they're required to pay it. Challenge is they don't all pay it on time. So they get a tax bill, but they basically pay it when they want. So if they're late, well, what the county's going to do is they're going to charge them interest for being late. In other words, they're going to charge them a late fee. Well, tax lien certificates are the ones, the people that own that are the ones that get those late fees. And I'll go over that with you. But basically, the county, what they're trying to do is they're trying to collect the taxes all at once so they can pay the firefighters, so they can pay the police department. And let's face it, they have to pay the county employees. They have to pay school teachers. You're getting the idea. The county has lots of bills to pay. So what the county does when they don't collect the money is they don't confiscate the property. The half of the counties actually sell the taxes to someone else. So anybody can go in and pay the taxes on a tax defaulted property. So if they put it on a list of tax defaulted property, you could find that out in the newspaper. You could find it on the county website. Guess what? You could take care of buying that tax lien certificate and invest with your local county. All right, now I'm going to finish this video, and when I do in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you about two big mistakes that all of the auctions, people show up at the auction, and whether they're newcomers or whether they're experienced investors, they're making mistakes at those tax auctions. So I'll tell you about those in just a minute. I'll be right back. How can I invest in tax liens? Well, that's what we're going to learn about here. That's what this episode is all about. So I'm giving you a little bit of that foundational information, and that's all about taxes must be collected. So the treasurer, they really get a notice from the legislature that tells them you must levy taxes, you must collect taxes, and if you can't collect them, you're going to either have to issue a tax lien certificate so the money will come in, or you'll have to sell the property at auction. All right, so the counties are selling tax lien certificates, and you can buy them. In any one of those 15 counties I mentioned earlier, they'll sell tax lien certificates. When that certificate is issued, it'll start a meter running, and the meter is adding up interest, and whatever the maximum interest in that county is, it could be all the way up to 36%. So you could buy a certificate. You wouldn't be getting possession of the property, but you'd be getting a certificate that's earning money, and that's what you want. For example, in Florida, those certificates pay all the way up to 18%. So you could be earning 1.5% every single month on your money in a tax lien certificate. So that's a pretty darn good investment. Now, as I said earlier, there's 3,000 counties across this country, and they're basically half of them are tax liens and half of them are deeds. Now, with the tax lien counties, again, you don't get possession, but you buy this certificate that earns you money. All right, now when you buy the certificate, you invest directly with the government, not with Ted Thomas, not with a broker, directly with the government, and you collect your checks back from the government. So it's going to make it safe and secure. So that investment is going to be protected by the local property tax code. They're super safe. Now, they're also secure. So when you invest in the certificate, you now have the security of that property. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean it's a secure investment because the county will tell you if you buy a tax certificate and the people don't come in and pay, if the property owner never pays, you get the property, and all you paid was basically the back taxes. Now, you'd want to buy property for back taxes. Some people say, Ted, I don't want to own any property. I get it. You don't want it. But what if you ended up with it and it cost you 2% and it had no mortgage. You could sell it for 50 cents on the dollar and it still has no mortgage. You can make yourself a bundle of dough. Now, how long has this been around? Tax lien certificates and tax deeds have been around for over 200 years. The county and the state, they just got together and they figured out a system. And that's all I'm teaching you is that system. Why do we even need them? Well, we need taxes because it's the only way we can pay for local government. Now, let's talk about that local government. The county has control of the county. So they're going to require everybody to pay taxes in that county. All right, what do the taxes do? They pay for the police department, the fire departments, as I mentioned earlier. They also give money to the hospital. They also take care of the court system. You're kind of getting the idea. The county has a lot of responsibilities. So what are they going to do if people don't pay tax? Well, 97% of all the people will pay their tax on time. It's that few percent that don't, but the county still needs that money. They don't have a big reserve, so they need that money. So what they will do is they'll issue a tax lien certificate for you. This is a secure certificate. It's a secure environment that you're investing in, and it's very, very lucrative. Now, it's little known, but it's highly lucrative. You can make a lot of money. Now, do you just go out and buy any certificate you see on the list? No. You need to take a look at that property. Now, just because it's a tax lien certificate does not mean that it's perfect. You need to go and look. What if it's on a property that's next to the local dump? Are you going to want to buy that tax lien? Well, just keep in mind, if the people don't come in and pay, you're going to get that property. Do you want one right next to the dump? Probably not. All right. Now, if you'd like to, and you'd like to know what the interest rate in your state is, well, tell me what state you're in and just put it below me, and I'll get back with you and tell you what the interest rate in your state is, and I'll send you a special gift. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about these auctions, okay? I'm going to just give you a 1-minute story about what takes place. The auctions could be big auctions or small auctions. They could be selling properties. They could be selling tax liens. So recently I was at an auction in Los Angeles County. Now, this is a big auction in Los Angeles. They had over 2,000 properties, and there was probably 1,000 bidders in the room. Now, imagine 1,000 bidders, and they're trying to get rid of. So it was chaos in that room while they were trying to sell those properties. Right next to me was a couple, and they kept bidding and bidding. And they'd put their bidder's card. They had a big bidder's card about this big. They keep putting it up in the air. And sure enough, one of the properties, the first bid was accepted, and then they said, and do I have a second bid? And do I have a third bid? They kept asking if you wanted. Well, the bidding just kept going. Finally, it was going once, going twice, and guess what? The people right next to me, they got the property. Now, they were overjoyed that they got the property. So, of course, the auctioneer read off their card number, told them that they were the winner, told them to come to the front of the room and pay. And you can't leave the room until you pay. If you do, you're going to have a sheriff following you out because you're not going to go there and not pay for it. You're going to go there and you will pay. So the point is, they were overjoyed. They were so excited. Then when it settled down and the bidding started again, the man turned to his wife and he said, Gloria, let's go see what we bought. Now think of what they just said. They had no idea of what they purchased. Well, I didn't know what they purchased at the time either because it wasn't one of the properties I checked. But everything's online. So at lunch, went on the Wi-Fi, went on the computer, looked it up. Guess what? It was a burned out chicken barn. One of those long things that's about 1/8 of a mile long with hundreds of chickens in it. Well, it had burned down, but it was next to 4 other chicken barns. And you can imagine what the odor around that place is. So I don't even know if that property was worth 10 cents. But I do know that they bid over $200,000, and I think the property was worthless. So I'm sure when they got there, I didn't go look, but I'm sure when they got there and found out burned out property that they were pretty unhappy. You don't want to be that person. You want to get yourself educated. Now, the educated investors in tax liens and tax defaulted properties, they're the ones that make the money. Now, listen, folks, you guys know if you hadn't met that lady, you're probably not thinking about getting married to her. Not going to happen, right? And ladies, I know you would never marry a guy that you hadn't seen. So it's the same thing in the tax lien and tax deed business. You don't want to buy into those properties. So is it risk-free? No, but the tax lien certificate business is, if you'll just learn how to do it and get a little education, you'll do fine because people make money continuously in this business, but you do have to do your homework. All right, so I'm going to run out of time here in just a minute, so I'm going to do a couple of questions right now, and then I'll move forward. The question was, can you invest in tax liens from anywhere in the world? Well, online, yes, you can do that. However, you'll need to be in a country that accepts American dollars, or the bank will take US dollars, because you have to do everything in English, because that's the only language we recognize in the United States. So everything is in English, and you have to do, but you can do it all online. So we currently have clients in the United Kingdom, all the provinces of Canada, Singapore, Bangkok, that kind of thing. So we do this in a lot of places, but not everywhere in the world, because you definitely have to have a US bank account. Okay, so the question was, do we have classes? Well, we definitely have classes. We have online classes, we have offline classes, we have home study materials, we have group studies, we actually take people to auctions. So we're a complete service when it comes to tax liens and deeds. All my people have been around me, my coaches have been with me, all of them more than 10 years, and they all have 10 to 15 years of coaching experience. I originated a lot of the tax lien courses way back 20 years ago when I started. So we teach a complete course for everybody that wants. You can start small, and you can go all the way to the advanced level where someone will hold your hand and go to an auction with you. All right, so I need to kind of button it up. I'm running out of time, but if you have questions, you can always ask questions when you go below. But let me tell you about 2 mistakes. The one mistake is a critical one, and that is what I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Don't buy a property unless you've seen it. Now, I'm seeing that happen at auctions. People are coming to the auction, and they haven't seen the property, and they're bidding. And how do you know? Was there a hurricane yesterday? Did it burn down? Was there an earthquake? I don't know what could have happened, but you don't want to buy a property unless you've seen it. The second big mistake that you need to learn about and make sure that you don't do is you don't want to get to that auction, get all excited. Someone will bid higher and you won't get that one, so you'll get even more determined and you'll start buying properties that you don't have an exit strategy. So you don't want to buy any property that you don't know what you can sell it for. That's your exit strategy. So don't buy just for sake of buying, because you may bid way too high and not be able to resell it. So it's time for me to button it up. I have a community, and if you'd like to be part of it and you're learning a lot, we'll have many videos that you could watch. All you have to do to be part of my community is register below, and when you do, I have a nice home study course for you, okay? Took a while to put all this together, but it's called the Safe Haven, and you'll learn a lot about tax liens and tax deeds. Just sign up below. It's my gift. GIFT, it's my gift to you.